We spent 4 months crossing Canada in our Mercedes camper van. Now we're in Alaska, and we left you last week at Seward on an amazing boat trip. This week we're travelling through Anchorage and onwards to McCarthy, but first we need some parts from the Mercedes dealer in Anchorage. Unfortunately, a building nearby was on fire. Hope everybody's okay. We're Sarah and Ben. Welcome back to Diamonds on Tour. Diesel here is $4.19 a gallon, so with 3.7 litres in a US gallon, that makes it this much in British pounds, so I think a lot cheaper than it is in Britain.
Goodness knows whether I've got that.
Well, our time in Alaska is beginning to draw to a close. We're on our way from Anchorage back out towards Tok and the border. But first, today we're going to McCarthy, the super exciting place, which is just here on the map. So we're pulling out of a very, very quiet park up and heading down the Egerton Highway, and we will see you at McCarthy, if not sooner.
Definitely.
Well, this is the town of Chitina, which is where the road crosses the river and where the road finishes and becomes a gravel road. Oh, look, there's people camped here.
Yeah. Grub Steak Grill, that is. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Where that's it.
I'm just going to pull over here to let this car past.
Road ends at Kennecott Road, 62 miles. Limited vehicle services, drive at your own risk. Watch out for loose railroad spikes, they could be nasty. Check locally for road conditions and services beyond this point.
So this road is a single track gravel road with a warning sign there about various problems. And it was built along the route of the old railway line. So they just took up the railway line, laid gravel, and that is now the road. That's why it's narrow. And it's 62 miles long. So that should be fun. Right now, progress so far, I've been a little bit surprised that the road has been quite a lot of actual tar road, albeit fairly broken up and with quite a lot of frost heave in a lot of places. But it's not just, yeah, lots of big potholes. But it's not just a gravel road. But what is really quite exciting is that we're about to come up to this bridge. The old railway bridge.
Tusculana Bridge.
Yeah, built in 1910 for the Copper River and Northwestern Railroad. Let me just see what it says on the height. Height above river 238 feet. So that's pretty high.
Yeah, it is pretty high. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And easy.
So there you go, it's got a wooden deck and a big pothole before you enter it.
Yeah. Sort of like the sort of thing I don't like, really. It's not very...
And it is a long way down.
The barriers aren't very high, are they?
No, but they're there.
I don't want to look down. I can't. Oh my
Wow,
God.
huge canyon down there.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Put all the gun holes, the shot holes through the thing. Ridiculous. We want to get some shots that side.
Well, we made it over the bridge.
We did.
Let's get some shots now. Now, when you're travelling, there are often signs that give away which country you're in. Yeah, we might well be in the United States. Well, the road to McCarthy goes through the town of Chittner, and after there it basically follows the original line of the railway line, including the one of the bridges that it crosses. The road is it's up to, as far as the first big bridge, the road has a bit of tarmac, but it's really poorly maintained, a lot of holes in it, a lot of potholes, and after there it's gravel with some really poor sections of washboarding.
It was a right old bone shaker.
It really was.
And that went on for 62 miles.
Each way.
Yes.
So we had 124 miles of that in order to visit this place, but I would say it was well worth it.
Yes.
Yeah, well, the road has taken a slight turn for the worst, and we've still got 60 kilometres on this. And of course, we've got to do it again on the way back out. It's one of those grading machines.
The British driving on their own side of the road.
Yeah, but there is, well, I'll go over here if you want, but there's like, oh, that was good timing. Bloody hell. Well, this road has been pretty awful, but we stopped and reduced the tyre pressures. We normally have 65 psi in the back and 55 in the front, and I've reduced them all down to 35, and it's made a huge improvement. Really way better. Still not perfect, obviously, because the road's awful, but it really has made it better. Don't want to go in that ditch.
not sure the machines made it any better. It made that very difficult.
Well, you don't know what it was like before the machine went through. We're just 9 kilometres from McCarthy now. When you get to the car park at the end of the road, at the river, just before the before McCarthy, you have to park your car. It cost us $6 to park the van there for the day, and then you cross on the footbridge and get a shuttle bus. There's two companies who run shuttle buses. The one we used charged $10 for each of us for a day pass, so we could use it as often as we liked. So $20 to get up to what's the name of the mine?
Kennecott.
So $20 to get up to the Kennecott Mine, which is about 4 miles, I think,
Yeah.
up the road from McCarthy. That's pretty good value.
It is on the roads that, again, over there. That is actually, yes. We wouldn't want to have walked it because it was uphill.
Yeah, it's all
way.
uphill.
So 4 miles uphill would have done. Well, I'd have been dead. Really.
Yeah. The Kennecott Mine overlooks the Kennecott Glacier, which is absolutely massive, all covered in a median moraine, which means that the surface of the ice is basically covered in gravel and rocks that have been brought down from landslides way up in the mountains. So it looks like just piles of gravel, but in fact there's hundreds and hundreds of feet of solid ice underneath that gravel surface. But back in... Jesus Christ. In the days of the mining here, this glacier was 700 feet higher than it is today. That's how much has melted since then. And the miners who worked over here never even saw those mountains.
Amazing.
Absolutely astonishing. Now, it was 1908 that the copper was found in that area. In that valley, the native people that lived there, people noticed that they had a lot of copper tools, weapons and jewellery that people in other parts of Alaska didn't have. So that gave them a clue that there must be some copper deposits in the area. And so prospectors went out there looking for what they could find, and they saw that one of the hillsides looked like it had a big patch of what to them looked like bright green grass right up near the top of the mountain, which shouldn't really have been there. But when they climbed up there, it was basically a massive deposit of copper ore. So that was all the information they needed to know that it was worth digging a mine up there. Most of the buildings here were made from Douglas fir, the wood which was brought something like 3,000 miles to up here from California. This building was built with locally sourced wood, so you can see why they brought timber from further south. This was at a time early in the 20th century, about 1908, when the need for copper worldwide was absolutely immense because electrification was starting. All of the distribution networks were being built all around the world. So there was an enormous boom in the need for copper, which made its price go through the roof. So mining copper could be incredibly profitable. Now this mine, way back in 1908, they, over the years from there, establishing the mine, they had to build a railway in there, which needed several bridges to be built. Those bridges needed to be rebuilt every year because they got washed away by the winter ice flows in the rivers. Now the workers were paid reasonably well, not fantastically, but reasonably, and basically they could make enough money during their contract time to pay for their passage back out again. So they ended up with nothing at the end of it, but and 100% of the workers wanted to leave at the end of their contracted period. So that tells you a little bit about the working conditions and what it was actually like to be there.
It's hard, wasn't it?
Yeah, really, really tough existence for these guys.
Yeah.
But anyway, as one of the investments that they made in the people was, for example, the hospital there was the first hospital in the whole of Alaska to have an X-ray machine. And there were stories of people actually being taken all the way there up into the Kennecott Mine to have X-rays for completely unrelated conditions from other parts of Alaska, because that was the only X-ray machine in the state.
They've got a school with 2 teachers.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
and the school, I think its maximum had about 20 pupils.
Yeah.
Didn't
They showed, they had a movie and had a movie theatre,
they? Yeah.
didn't they?
And
bars and things.
when Hollywood premieres took place, bearing in mind 1920s and 30s were a big time for Hollywood movie industry. Within 2 weeks of a premiere being shown in Hollywood, it would be shown in the theatre at the Kennecott Mine. And that's astonishing, because you don't just put it on a plane and take it up there. You're talking about weeks of travel on steamships from California all the way up the coast, and then transferring cross land and eventually to the train to take it up into the mountains there. So those films would have been on the way to that mine weeks before the premiere was actually shown in Hollywood.
They had some very influential people.
Yeah, a lot of the funding had come from some of those really, really powerful people in the US at the time, whose names I forget.
So why did it all go pear-shaped then?
Well, after the First World War, the price of copper absolutely plummeted. Most of the electrical installations and so on had been completed around the world, the grids, and the need for copper at such huge scales basically disappeared. So it became unprofitable, and the costs of maintaining the operation up there were astronomical. So they decided to close it down. But obviously, if you say to your workers who are working in hideous conditions, we're going to close down in 6 months' time, basically they're going to disappear.
They thought that, they were going to pinch all the stuff.
Yeah,
whatever.
and basically you're not going to keep them motivated.
Yeah.
So they gave them 4 hours notice to the whole operation closing down, and basically said, right, it's closed, the last train leaves in 4 hours. If you're not on it,
You're stuck.
You're stuck up the mountain. So that's a pretty brutal way of bringing an end to it, but that's exactly what they did.
By saying that the Park Service has done a lot to, reinforce the structure of this place, but it is the tallest freestanding wood building in the world, meaning that the building itself does not sit on a concrete foundation. And the fact that it's still here is, miraculous. A lot of it can be attributed to the attention to detail that went into constructing this place. And you can see small things like here, all this timber is notched. The lazy carpenter could have just put a big bolt through that. But in a lot of regards, when they were building this place, they went that extra step, which is one of the reasons why it's still standing here today. You might notice that the floor right here is actually about halfway up all these windows all around this. Now I feel like I spend so much time praising the architects and the engineers. Pause it onto this end of the screen and see the fiber. Only it'd be a lot faster than that. This machine actually cycled 40 times. And you got 2 discs in here that are rotating opposite each other, with one of them being slightly offset so it would wobble as it spun around. Had someone on a tour a couple weeks ago, works in the gravel cement industry, and said that Simmons is still making cone crushers today, which is, I thought was a pretty cool. First Hancock jig right here. This is another sorting machine. How the Hancock jig would work, there'd be a pool of water going over the surface of this thing. In the inside of the machine, you'll notice it has these grates in it with these dividers in between them. So the inside portion would move in what's called a circular square pattern. It would drop down, move over, move back up, and then the machine would recycle. And if you think about the lighter ore, as it shakes and moves, the lighter ore is going to jump across these grooves and fall off this end of the table, and the really heavy, the really valuable stuff is just going to scoot down the grooves, and it's going to be too heavy to clear, and it's going to fall off that end of the table. So we got this big catch here, and unfortunately a lot of the other catches are gone, but you can see that it's compartmentalized. So we got our lowest grade ore coming off this side of the table, with increasingly high purity all the way until we get to that corner of the table over there. Is going to be your highest grade heavy stuff that could only clear 2 or 3 of these by the time I travel down the whole distance of the table. Ammonia would boil, it would dissolve all the copper, and then they'd boil it all off. And so after that, they would actually unscrew these hatches here, and someone would climb inside and scrape all the copper film off of the wall. Yeah, would not have been the best, healthiest job to have here. At least you would have been warm with all the boiling going on. But yeah, your chances of blindness, cancer, other diseases would have been much, much higher.
The town of McCarthy, 4 miles down the road, they've got their bars and restaurants and things in a lot of the original buildings again.
And that, of course, is because the mining town was a dry town, because you don't want people living and working in those conditions basically having access to alcohol, or they certainly used to control it in those days. So, of course, when you have a town which has basically prohibition, it's inevitable that very close by another town will grow up with bars, brothels, and other things that people want to get hold of when they're doing that sort of work. So that's how McCarthy came to be, just down the road.
Yeah.
I think that's the best view we've ever had from a park up.
Oh my goodness me. Whoa.
That is simply astonishing.
Wow. Wow. God, everywhere you look.
Just amazing.
Back there and... Wow.
We should know the name of the river really, shouldn't we?
Yeah. We will.
Yeah.
We'll look it up.
Yeah.
Find it for the morning.
Tell me the place we've just been to. Look.
McCarthy and Kennecott.
Kennecott. Well, this park up is on the road from, really the road back up towards Tug from Anchorage, and you take a turn off towards McCarthy and also the Kennecott mines. And it's been the most unbelievable day, hasn't it?
Yeah,
we've just done 120 miles on the worst road in the history of roads. Absolutely appalling. I knocked down the tyre pressures. That helped a lot. But
So noisy
yeah,
and bouncy and really uncomfortable.
but the peace and solitude of this makes up for it all, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely the most incredible spot.
Oh, right. Oh, that close. Oh, Ben. I'm going to put the kettle on.
Could just look at that for hours, I think. Right, let's go and get a cup of coffee. Van's looking a bit of a mess.
Oh, yeah, and inside.
Well, this is the Copper River, comes down from the mountains up there in the distance, and just here is where there's the join with the Chitina River that comes in over there. Now this river, the Copper River, is known worldwide for being the very best salmon anywhere in the world and the most expensive. At least that's what the marketing people say. But there's a huge hive of activity. The season's from May to September every year, and you can see here, well, yeah, dozens of people fishing for the salmon, and they're using nets. So they basically float out a net and basically just catch the salmon in these nets as they swim past. We've seen a couple being caught, but it's a really fascinating thing to see. We had a couple of people, rangers of some sort, stop by us a minute ago and ask us how we're getting on and any questions and stuff, and I think they're actually beginning the sort of test to see if we were going to be trying to catch any salmon ourselves, at which point we'd have needed some permits of some sort. But anyway, it's a really fascinating thing to see. Such a beautiful place to be as well. And this road is the one that goes on up to McCarthy, and you've got the village of Chitina just over the side there, where there's a bridge over this river. Now the salmon that you can find in this river are the Alaskan Copper River king salmon, which is known as the wagyu of seafood. That's a particular delicacy here. But there are also sockeye salmon and coho salmon. And one of the things that makes the king salmon so special here is that they actually travel 300 miles up this river to their spawning locations right at the top. And that makes them very, very strong. They've got very big fatty deposits to sustain them through that journey. So that's what makes them special, apparently. But we did see some very, very spectacular glaciers.
Oh gosh, didn't we?
They were
wow.
Absolutely magnificent. I seem to be alternating between saying glacier and glacier. I think I prefer glacier.
Glacier.
Glacier is my preferred.
You say glacier, I say glacier. You say grass, I say grass.
I say bath.
You say ass, I say arse.
Stick that up your ass.
Yeah.
Wow, what a crazy sight that is. Massive Great Rainstorm over the mountains over there. I think we need to get back on the road before that catches up with us. Yep. As we head north towards Toke and the top of the world highway, that's it for this week. Thanks for being here with us. Please like, subscribe and all that stuff, and we'll see you next week when we get back into Canada.